Horror is a genre of limitless freedom, offering a plethora of scary stories for its audience. It's subjective yet versatile, ensuring there's a fright for everyone. Survival horror movies, where characters face grueling fights for survival, tap into humanity's vulnerability. These films often rely on plausible scenarios, making them even more terrifying. Whether lost in the woods battling the elements or confronting a monster, survival horror movies are a must-watch for any horror enthusiast. In this video, we bring you the top 10 must-watch survival horror movies to add to your watch list. But before we delve into the list, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more thrilling content. Number 10. Crawl, 2019. Crawl is a creature feature that pits a girl and her father against a pack of giant alligators during a vicious hurricane on the Florida coast. Crawl begins as a survival horror movie against the elements as this Florida hurricane intensifies, leads to floods, and forces mass evacuations. This situation grows worse once Haley tries to locate her missing father, only for the both of them to get trapped in their flooded home as the local alligator farm overflows. Crawl is scary, suspenseful, and full of heart. It essentially treats the gators like the killers in a slasher movie, stalking their victims one by one in an isolated location where no one is coming to help. And while one of them is a larger-than-average beast, it plays exceptionally well because there's nothing unusual about them, they're just doing what is in their nature to do. It's not just a great survival horror story, but also one of the genre's top alligator movies, an admittedly shabby subgenre that may have found its best entry to date. Number 9. Frozen, 2010. Frozen is a stressful survival story that traps three friends on a mountain's chairlift during a long weekend where no one is checking in. What's so effective about Frozen is that it methodically attempts logical solutions to escape from this nightmare scenario, which all fall increasingly short for these three friends. It's particularly grim because it arrives so unexpectedly, in the midst of what was supposed to be a relaxing vacation. The deadly height that the chairlift is stuck at is intense on its own, but Frozen emphasizes the horrors of being stuck in freezing cold weather. Frostbite and skin getting stuck to frozen metal result in some of the movie's grossest sequences. It's a brutal experience where the character's plight becomes palpable, and anyone who's ever been out too long in the cold can testify to its scares. Number 8. The Shallows, 2016. Jaume Collet-Serra has become a blockbuster action director, but the filmmaker's roots lie in the horror genre with evocative movies like Orphan and The Shallows. The Shallows, starring Blake Lively, is a standout shark survival movie, focusing on great white sharks and delivering suspense with a straightforward story. Nancy is injured and can't simply swim back to safety, while her hungry predator continues to close in on her. The Shallows doesn't cheat its audience, and Lively's incredible performance elevates this survival story to greater substance. Best of all, the sharks aren't exaggerated to cartoonish proportions but are portrayed merely as hungry animals seeking prey. The quiet normality of this becomes one of the movie's most effective tools, as does its focus on a single potential victim who has to find a way to safety on her own. Number 7. Fall, 2022. Some of the strongest survival horror movies involve thrill-seekers who wind up in greater danger than they anticipated. 2022's Fall follows two skilled climbers, Becky and Hunter, who scale a 2,000-foot-tall TV broadcasting tower scheduled to be demolished, only to find themselves trapped at the top. All of this grows even more harrowing after vultures decide that these two should be their prey. Fall creates true tension and terror out of its isolating environment, but it also verges into psychological territory once Becky realizes that she's so delirious from the experience that she can't even trust her own eyes anymore. Her subjective perspective casts everything in doubt, leaving the audience with nowhere to turn for comfort. The effect is harrowing. Not one, but two Fall sequels were recently announced, which will hopefully take this survival horror film to even greater heights.
Dying. Don't be afraid to live.
Number 6. Escape Room, 2019. The escape room trend started to take off during the 2010s, locking participants in a room full of clues and giving them a certain time period to deduce them and get out. It's no surprise that a horror film would turn this real-life idea into a survival horror experience, playing off the darkest implications of the pastime and tapping into the worst fears of audience members who may have found it enjoyable. Escape Room begins with a group of intrepid escape room and puzzle enthusiasts who embark on the ultimate puzzle accompanied by a tempting cash prize. Soon, The competitors will realize that failing to keep up has deadly consequences, and there are dark figures controlling everything from behind the scenes. The initial excitement fades as the characters discover that the game they thought was harmless fun turns into a nightmare with bodies stacking up. The powerful forces orchestrating it all show they have endless sinister tricks to play. Number 5. Green Room, 2015. Jeremy Saulnier's Green Room stars the late Anton Yelchin in a tour de force performance that intensifies progressively throughout this survival exercise. Yelchin's character, Pat, is part of a punk rock band who find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time, becoming witnesses to the crimes of a racist white supremacy group. These extremists try to erase any evidence of their crimes, which forces this band to retreat into the venue's green room as they fight for their lives. Similar to many survival films, it explores themes of trust, with a single questionable decision leading to disaster. Green Room creates a genuine feeling of being trapped and isn't afraid to put its characters in tremendous pain. Patrick Stewart, known for portraying heroic characters like Jean-Luc Picard and Professor X, delivers a chilling and terrifying performance as the leader of the hate group, portraying a quiet monster that is equally shocking and terrifying. Number 4. Buried, 2010. Long before Ryan Reynolds was Deadpool, the actor gave one of his best performances ever in a small 2010 film, Buried. Buried taps into a very real fear that afflicts many people, the horror of being buried alive. With just a lighter and a dying cell phone, he must figure out how to escape the claustrophobic confines before time runs out. Reynolds delivers a gripping performance as he battles panic and fear while trying to make sense of his dire situation. Buried succeeds with its strong dedication to its idea, and Reynolds keeps the audience engaged despite the character's limitations. He's unable to move much, and with the audience stuck alongside him, the feeling of being trapped intensifies. None of it would work without the actor giving the best performance of his career. It maintains its tension and concludes on a deeply bleak ending, thanks to the star's firm grip on the audience's sympathies. Number 3. Cube, 1997. The 1990s film Cube was ahead of its time in the death game horror genre. This survival horror movie understands the importance of mystery and knows when less can be more. The movie follows a group of strangers who wake up in cube-shaped rooms filled with deadly traps, with no memory of how they got there. Getting from one room to the next requires a combination of ingenuity and desperation. As they continue, the group realizes that each of them has a specific skill relevant to solving the deadly puzzle they're in, even as they remain in the dark about the reasons for their abduction. Each new room encountered in Cube grows more intimidating than the last, and mounting tensions threaten to tear apart the tenuous team that has come together. In the end, final answers are elusive, giving it a sense of nihilism that was quite unusual at the time but has since become a staple of the survival horror genre. Number 2. The Descent, 2005. Neil Marshall's The Descent is a gritty survival horror movie about trauma, friendship, and what it means to truly be alive. A group of female spelunkers enter a risky cave system as a bonding exercise to help one of their own get over a traumatic loss from the past year. The Descent presents tight, claustrophobic terror as these 6 friends navigate their subterranean environment, which turns into a greater fight for survival after they stumble upon a colony of cave monsters. The Descent delivers intense terrors that benefit from excellent character work and monsters that are truly scary. The movie's true monsters are psychological, going beyond just escaping caves. Marshall's vision remains strong. It's a top-notch jump-scare film that uncovers dark truths along the way. Number 1. Misery, 1990. There are some excellent Stephen King adaptations, but there's a strong case to be made for why Rob Reiner's Misery is the best of the bunch. Misery, the claustrophobic story about helplessness, addiction, and toxic fandom, is ahead of its time and even more relevant 3 decades later. The movie follows Paul Sheldon, a popular author who gets into a devastating car accident and finds himself at the mercy of a hostile and short-tempered former nurse, who is also Sheldon's #1 fan. Confined to a bed and a wheelchair, Misery turns into a tense cat and mouse game between Sheldon and his captor, Annie Wilkes, as he tries to appease her and survive the experience. It's a great story that's elevated by phenomenal performances.
Eventually, you'll come to accept the idea of being here.
Annie. God's sake.
It's for the best.
If you like a video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
This'll be over soon, gentlemen.